We were spirits with successful experience in securing the cooperation of our human bodies, minds, and hearts during times when we clothed ourselves in form for this very reason. Most of us had not walked the earth for some time, and amongst most at that particular gathering it would require calculation to say whether that time was centuries or millennia. A few of us had helped to guide the human family through its more recent turning points, but we were the minority. The meeting was called to order by the great angel whose body is the sun, a customary procedure that did not surprise us. Typically, however, such meetings were held only for those about to embark on incarnate lives, and there were few among us with that intention. We were alerted to the unusual significance of the occasion, when, flickering across the face of the sun, we beheld the countenance of the Universal Mother, and indeed, when the thought transfer began, it was she who spoke, she whose very body is the galaxies. Her purpose in addressing us was introductory in nature, and proved of value in preparing us for what was to come, for I think without her intermediary guidance, what appeared next might have otherwise triggered so much surprise as to cause, at the very least, a delay in the proceedings. It was none other than the white light of the Eternal One, focused in a manner rarely seen in any star. We lived in the presence of that great Spirit, it is true. Our lives were lived knowing it as the source from which we drew our all. But to witness so sharp a focus of that presence was as distinct from what we were used to, as gentle sunlight is from sunlight focused through a lens upon a single spot. In the communication that followed, the three manifestations of being, solar, universal, and eternal, flowed in and out of one another, blending, merging, weaving the colors of their whole. At times it was hard to identify which of the Trinity was the speaker, so unified were their waves and so aligned their purpose. The Creator spoke through these three, giving us specific instruction. I will pass on the words as best I can recall. You are being invited, we were told, to incarnate upon a world where illusion prevails in the minds and hearts of those whom I have created in my image and likeness. You who accept this invitation will soon find yourselves in the last days of the human species' infancy, in a situation where the currents of fear have ruled their experience of separation. I have numbered the days of this condition, and they are soon to end. I have established the eternal forces that will divide the fear from the love in human consciousness, banishing the one and redeeming the other. I am inviting you to be my agents in this fearful culture, that you might do what you can from within to complement the changes I am bringing from without. For I know that there will likely be fearful ones whose physical bodies will not survive the separation between love and fear. But I know also that there is no reason, no good reason, why even so much as a single human being should disincarnate during this cleavage. I have called you here because you have proven in times past that you can to a high degree keep your bodies, minds, and hearts in harmony with your spirits. I release to you now an invitation to incarnate in these tribes who inhabit the earth. I have not asked this of you until now, for during earlier historical times conditions on earth were not as conducive to the spreading of our awareness. But the awakening in human consciousness has begun. Many are now opening to the living information. Your presence would do much to minimize the possible trauma that could occur with the changing of the age. I remember distinctly, while it was being explained that what was happening on earth was like the changing of a guard, suddenly the spinning planet, which until now had seemed unremarkable except for the gentle rocking of her seasons, was sprouting an enormous wound. An ominous gray circular cloud rolled toward us with the new day, obscuring the southern portion of the Japanese archipelago. As our vision penetrated beneath, we saw that it was supported by a black pillar, a turbulent inferno of awesome destruction. With each roll of the earth we could feel raw human terror broadcast upward, rippling through our open hearts in waves of unbridled fear. Then suddenly, rolling toward us from the west, came another, a towering column of dark red, cloud-like substance, surrounding an empty void that seemed as impossible in the midst of such chaos as the chaos itself. Immediately we slowed our time perception and zoomed in to experience this day. Into a vacuum hole, soil and water and organic life poured, tumbling and boiling, rising into billowing clouds of turbulence that rose almost to touch us. As far as we could see, all beneath us was inhabited by swirling, sucking whirlpools and shooting balls of random fire, the likes of which I have seen only upon the surface of stars. I will not elaborate. Into those moments we brought eternity. In them we are still piecing together what justice requires. It is enough to say that on that day we experienced hell. Yet even as we did, we knew what our response to the Great Spirit's invitation would be. Yes, we would incarnate. Yes, the time had come. The purpose of our incarnations, it was explained, is to prepare people for the time when the lies that give birth to all fear-centered thinking will be banished forever from human consciousness. Though it may sound strange to you, if human populations are not prepared, it will be much more difficult for them to survive the cleavage. So entwined are the thoughts of fear, not only in their thinking, but even in their very sense of self. We must help them relax with their identities and stop defining themselves as vulnerable entities. We were told that to effectively achieve this objective, we were of necessity going to have to incarnate not in protected locations as had been our wont in ancient times, having as little to do with the fearful as possible, but into the most fearful of the planet's ruling families. This would ensure our strategic placement among those elements of humanity who were in fact expected to prove most resistant to the powers of education. The Creator was careful in making it clear to us that we were foregoing our traditional family bonds in order to incarnate in this way, and that we were likely, upon awakening, to find ourselves in unsupportive and vibrationally alien surroundings. It was emphasized that we did not have to accept this assignment, that our role in this was purely voluntary. Even if we accepted, there was no assurance that we would succeed in entirely eliminating the trauma of the transition. But there would be a greater chance that more people would come through the moment of final cleavage with their senses intact. To alert us of this opportunity, our circle had been called, together in the starlit skies above the 33rd parallel. We were cautioned about the dangers we were likely to encounter in a world still very much under the control of fearful organizations. The real power, God explained, is in the love that is strengthening each day during this coming cycle. Our strategy now is to allow the organizations of fear to continue to dominate in appearance, while we subtly drain away the source of their power, the fear of the people. This will make their final banishment less traumatic for the human family as a whole, for by then the numbers of those who believe in them will have greatly diminished. We were reminded then of the many layers of fearful logic that we ourselves had shaken off during previous walks upon the earth. We were asked to take who we were and what we knew, and to incarnate among the nations of the 20th century. Our mission was to retain our innocence while interfacing with every known form of human organization. We were assured that the momentum of the age was with us. You do this not for your species alone, we were told, but for yourselves and for all whom your race will influence in the ages to come.